Oh, hi. I'll probably... Yeah, I'll probably have this stream public after, instead of unlisted this time. Not 100% sure what I want to draw yet. I'll do studies today. I'm not sure what I'm going to paint yet. And some people ask me for like a more of a interactive stream, like questions and stuff, instead of just drawing. I can always just draw on the voice chat anyway in Discord. Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm just warming up with lines right now. Thinking of doing fundamental study again today for still life. But we'll see. Maybe I'll do two. Ribbies are still kind of hard for me. Like hard to simplify lines. Or I can start with questions if anybody has questions that's related to art. I'll try to answer during the stream. Rendering is such a broad topic. Like, I guess I just try to draw more and more to completion in kind of in workout terms it's like progressive overload, but in art terms it's more like pushing for higher levels of finish over time. I know it's like self-explanatory when I say it, like, or not self-explanatory, but like it's like answering the question with the question. But I started learning about rendering by rendering. Ooh, that's a hard one. It changes sometimes, but off the top of my head. But like I said, it switches from time to time. Like there's also Pain Dude. There's also Kanliu, Guways. Man, it's hard to just name 5, you know? When did I commit to drawing? When I first started. Like I pretty much started drawing after a little bit of time, probably less than 1 year. I got a tablet. I'm just like, that's what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life. Or at least in parts. It's not like I do it as a job. It's just hobby. Mostly hobby. You never really get to a point where you can call it complete definitively. You just keep pushing further and further. So what might look complete to me 2 years ago doesn't look complete to me right now. It looks like a sketch. And then I'm sure in 2 years, if I keep studying, which I will, if I keep studying, what I consider complete now is going to look like a sketch in 2 years. So you just, I guess you just keep pushing for completion. And you develop both skill and like a taste for art and like an eye for it, like observation skills and sketching skills, drawing skills. As you develop them, your criteria for completion, the bar gets raised over time. I messed around for art, in art for the first 10 years. So it looks like this. Let me draw out maybe a flow, not a flow chart, but so I started like year 0, right? This is like anime. And then I think the first 3 years, this is, oops, forgot it's not Photoshop. This is like DeviantArt artists. So no fundamentals here yet. Not really. Like there is some fundamentals like within here, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And then maybe I think year 4 or 5. I think 4. Yeah, it's gotta be 4. I discovered a bunch of Hollywood. So these are like the early digital painters. Like they started out from I would say 90s to 2000s. Like they still draw, but this is before 2000 actually. No, it's not. It's before 2010, but they started at the 90s. So these are more realism. So and then I think for the next 6 years, I just study movies. So here is movies and photos. And then after year 10, let me think. Who was it? Atlee Galley. I forgot his name, but it goes by, if any of you guys know this name, he goes by Snotty. Oops, I forgot his name. How do you spell Snotty? Atlee. Galen. Okay. Galen. Addie Galen. So it was Snotty 89. Okay. This is. Oops. Giving like a long-winded answer here, but about year 10, to me personally, this is a predecessor to like this spawned Raw Straws and Sam. Like, I want to say they have huge influences from Snotty. And then, you know, that's when I got into more of the, like, I was anime here, but then, you know, I did realism, like, from here to here. And then I got into liking anime and more stylistic stuff. I didn't really do it much. I still did semi-realism. And I think maybe around 11, I quit art. And then came back 13. That's when I do art again. I think of the timeline. So this is about 2021. Yeah, 2021. And this is where the main part of my art grinding started. So I wanted to draw well at this point, because up to this point I didn't know what I was doing. Like up here, it's like I have no idea what I was doing. And then after 13, I think grayscale, for 2 years, almost 2 years. It's like 14.5. Let's say 14.5. I did perspective somewhere here, actually. And then I think Loomis was somewhere here. That when I first tried Loomis. And then Still Life. I did more here. Like statues in Still Life. And then after that, it's everything like colors and shapes and whatnot. So 14 to now, which is 16 years. This is 2025, so this is now. This is when I started studying more stylization. And actually, I wanted to go back to anime around here as well. But this is when I focus on portraits. No, I've never had mentorships. I've never taken any mentorship. I never took any class. It's just... Actually, it's kind of dumb, but I want Ganyu to be looking at this. That makes some more sense. Okay, so anyway. So I would say... from here to about here is about like 800. No, maybe 1,000 paintings. And then from here to here, that's about, let's say 1,500 paintings. But these were much, like this area is much denser in terms of study. Like I studied fundamentals from there. So someone who's new that's coming in. Like if someone wanted to start drawing, I would say the most realistic fast track would be you insert yourself somewhere here on year 0, and you can do any of these 0 to 10. So you'll come here, and you spend maybe like a couple months there, or maybe a year, and then you just jump straight here. Like you don't need all this stuff. So, I mean, it was fun, and I did the 10 years because there was no online resources like YouTube today, where there's like um, tutorials on everything. I mean, it's good or bad, but this is Clip Studio. So yeah, I don't recommend speedrunning art, but I think most of the stuff that I've done could be done within this, which is, I'll say 4 or 5 years. But I took 16. It's whatever. Nobody told me. And I think I found this guy right here in let me try to move stuff. So I think up to this point, like maybe here is ca.org. So that's conceptart.org. I forgot when it shut. I'm pretty sure that's when it shut down, like 7 years ago ish. Could be wrong. I forgot. There's feels like something else besides ArtStation. There's another one that's like ArtStation. ca.org is like right in between DeviantArt and ArtStation, kind of. It's like a forum, and a lot of professionals often go there to talk about things like art related. Like, it wasn't uncommon to see like an industry professional in those forums. Internet was a lot less gatekeeping back then. You can definitely speedrun art, the technical part of it. I don't know if you would want to. So, SCO or SEO. My course on, I'm assuming you mean the Colossal one. So the stuff I go over in there is like concepts that would take you a while to grasp. So like you can watch YouTube videos and repeat whatever they're saying, like like shape design or rhythm in shapes and lines and line weight. Like, you can memorize all the words you want. You can memorize all the concepts and the theory, but to get a hang of it, it might take you a little bit more time. So it's not designed to be like you take the course, you do the course once, you grind through it for, after 2 weeks, you gain 10 years experience. It's more like you should probably use that mindset no matter what tutorials or books you're reading after that, because it will kind of help you organize how to learn. How come you brought that? Oh, the EX version, I was gonna try animation, but it was on sale, so I was like, yeah, might as well just buy it. This is the 1.0 EX. Why did I quit? So it's kind of like I had to make money, So I got too busy to draw. Honestly, it wasn't too busy to draw. I didn't. I thought I was gonna draw. I wasn't gonna draw again, but came back. So for 2 years, I stopped drawing. Yeah, I'll archive the stream. Or not archive. I will have it as public. It won't be unlisted. There. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to look for something to study real quick. There's so many AI stuff on Pinterest. It's crazy. It's like every other click takes me to a full wall of AI stuff. I'm 30s. Yeah, I don't know why people are rushing these days. Like, that wasn't really a thing back then. Like, I see so many people, they're like, oh my god, I'm 17 and I can't draw like a League of Legends professional splash artist. That must be doing something wrong. Like, what do you mean? Like, you haven't even finished high school. I don't think that's should be a concern. When I first started, there wasn't really this whole like trying to get to the top, whatever that the top means, with drawing. It's just like, oh, you gotta grind and study every day, and then they burn themselves out. So at the end of the day, not like there's not gonna be more people who achieve a high level of like technical skill anyway. So yeah, I'm saving the stream. No, I don't do interior design. I do construction, like I do remodeling, but that's the physical labor. I don't do much design yet. Like the clients can pick what flooring or what kind of walls they want, and then I build it. But not really a designer. Learning enough to get the ball rolling. I mean, you can just look at other people's other artists' drawings, and you can draw from those. Like you can get the ball rolling immediately, basically. So when I was here, I was looking at anime, like back then it was like Naruto and Fate Stay Night, and I just drew what I see. I wasn't particularly concerned about like construction methods or whatever. Like I found Loomis because someone in conceptart.org recommended it to me, and before this point, I didn't know. I didn't read any books or like study anything besides like movie screenshots. I don't know why the Discord link like keeps expiring because I have the permanent link. But yeah, I'll paste down there. Oh my god. Why doesn't it want me to copy? Okay. Give me a second. Okay, that one should work. It's like you can replicate things, or you know the concepts and the words, but when you try to apply it, it's a little bit more difficult. And it might take time for you to internalize. Hmm. I have... Hmm. I have good mathematical accuracy. That's why perspective and proportions come pretty easily to me. Just because I've spent... Before even I started drawing, let's say, like... Let's go that way. So, I really liked graphing. Like, if I needed to graph, like, you know, a parabola, oops. And then, you know, say -1 offset, and then 1, 1, and then 2, -2, and then it's here. I really like to do this. And make sure that my curves are really well behaved. And I think stuff like this helped me. Like, it helped me picking up like observational drawings, because I notice details like, or at least I look for details like, is this curvature the same as this one, and you know, are they the same distance from the inflection point, and you know, is this really asymptotic to that? But yeah, making those observations just over years helped me do like studies, like photo studies and whatever. So I noticed more details, like what's the first derivative at this point, and then I would try to fix my curve so that it's mathematically accurate. Same thing with higher level math, like yeah, like Calc 2 or something, Calc 3. And you just, like Calc 3, you just start doing like cross sections, conical, yeah, cross sections. They do. You solve for the answer between this and the cone. No, I'm just explaining what I mean by good memory. It's not really good memory, it's just I practiced it in different subjects. So like stuff like this directly correlates to how I observe things, how I draw and paint forms, because I can see it with a pretty good mathematical, geometrical accuracy. So if I can do that, then I can describe forms, then I will learn that part faster than other people who hasn't practiced that. So if you are not familiar with things like this in mathematics, then it might take you more time to study it. I'm terrible at trig. I don't remember. I ought to review trig, but definitely not a math stream. I'm not good at math. I'm just very particular about how I draw the functions, representation for functions. No, I cannot tutor math right now. Sorry. Like, give me like a 6 month to review, maybe. Well, anyway, the point is, you know, some people say things like, "Oh, you're so good at observations because you have talent." No, I practiced those skills in other subjects for years, so I can see, like, I'm looking at how accurate this curve is, and being able to say, "Oh, this is supposed to be a, like a, what's it called? A mirrored, or like a symmetrical parabola," and I start making observations like, okay, is this good enough? And I would start comparing this, right? So I know this is not good enough, so I would move it. So I would do this in math class, and this is why I like graph papers. I've been gridding, like the gridding, using grids to align my stuff before I even started drawing. I don't like the grid method because it's bad habits, but for math, I don't care. So now this is like, these are congruent, but it'll be a good way to write. Okay, so Barg. Oh no, I cannot draw a horse by memory. I don't know horses. I don't draw animals much at all, actually. I mean, I draw a rough shape of a horse, but skill is a talent. Not by definition, no. So skill is something, at least to me, skill is something you can learn. It's like it has a criteria for what good means. So like, you do something, there's a competency. So there's criteria of how to do well. So a skill of drawing circles very well, like a very simple skill, like how well can you draw circles? Me, not really. But like, a criteria for this skill would be how round is the circle that you draw, and that's pretty much learned. Obviously, if you have motor function disorders, then you can say that you have less talent than the average person because you can't move your arm or hand physically very well. But I think most people are born without too much like pros and cons against the average person. So yeah, I don't think it's a talent thing. Wait, that Discord link doesn't work? How does that not work? That's crazy. Hold on. Someone please just send the invite, because I can't right now. I have the stream mode on, and I can't, like, Discord doesn't let me turn it off, so. So where was I? Yeah, skill is not a talent because it might appear to be like a talent to some people because they don't see what work goes into it. So being able to do stuff like mathematical stuff like this, like geometrical or projections of things, like 3D to 2D projections, directly impacts stuff here. So that helps this. And I didn't know when I was doing this. I was just like, I really want to draw cones. And it turns out I've been doing geometrics or form studies while I was doing algebra and geometry and trigonometry and stuff. So some people might say, like, if they only look at this, like they only look at drawing and then they see me get here and I pick up still life really fast, then they would say, oh, you just have talent. But no, I did stuff like this for years. I just did geeky stuff for a year. Like I would spend hours just drawing graphs on the graph paper, making sure that the alignments are correct. So like, you know, if they tell you to draw an arc, right? Like, and then this is a certain degree. Like they'll specify theta as like, I don't know, that's like 125. Then I would make sure that this is actually 125, and you know, I would compare. Like if I draw this, then 2 has to be greater than 1. Okay. So you can, I guess, yeah, like this is a basis for observations, for example, bark. It's a method of measuring things. So I would say a bark, you have, let's say I'm trying to copy this drawing, right? Which, if you try to copy this drawing, the first thing you would think to observe is like, how tall is the drawing? How wide is the drawing? And then maybe the bigger shapes, like the hair goes here. What's the angle for maybe the horns? You start cutting it out to shapes. Like I can see parallel lines here. And it's just like random things that stands out to me. So up to this part, this is the same as, actually, this stuff is the same as this to me. Meaning of arts. I don't know. I just like to draw things that I want to look at. So like, I see other people's paintings, like other artists, and I'm looking at the subjects, and there are things I like and then things I don't like about each painting, and then in my head I'll think about how, oh, I wish this artist painted this part more like that artist. But I can't just go and tell them, you know, why don't you paint different? Because the answer would be, well, if you don't like it, then do it yourself. So I'm doing it myself. Which part resembles hyperfixation? It's not really a schedule. I just whatever free time I have, I draw. I'm gonna try to draw average of one painting a day in 2025. I think it's gonna be comfortable for me to go at that pace if I have the time. Whether or not I can find the time, that's another story. Different artists. It depends on what you mean by a lot of different artists. I think even before you start, you have to decide what is it that you like about art. Like, at least visually, like what paintings do you like, or what drawings do you like, and you build that kind of a bucket of things that you like, and that's like the parameters of your taste. And then you find artists that you enjoy, with art that you enjoy, and then you study those. But it's best if you focus on what you like about their stuff. So Anki. Lonely. I can't say no for sure, but I don't really talk to people in real life because I rather be drawing, and just I work out at the gym and I jog, so I do all those things by myself, and I don't like, it's efficient to me and I achieve what I want. So I try doing these things with other people sometimes, but I don't like it that I have to match their pace or they have to match my pace, and it's just inefficient. So, and I prefer just drawing instead of doing things that I might not want to do as much, just to do it with other people. So if I go to the gym, for example, I'm just gonna focus on what I want to do, like my workouts, and then I leave. If I'm at home, like if I want to do stuff for pastime, for example, I want to draw. I mean, usually it's I want to draw. Then I would draw immediately. There's no like, oh, let's chill or watch a show or go drink or whatever else other people do. I don't really know what other people do because I haven't really interacted with people much outside of drawing. Is it lonely? I don't know. I can't compare it to anything. So it's not like I don't talk to people. So if I'm in an isolation chamber forever, then yeah, I guess it would be. Have I ever felt guilty when I have free time and choose not to draw? First of all, why would I have free time and choose not to draw? And probably no, because if I really wanted to draw, I would draw immediately. If I'm choosing to do something else, that means I don't really want to draw that much at the time, and that's almost never the case. At what level should an artist dive into brushwork? There's a... Here, let me explain it with this this painting, or this drawing, not a painting. But let's say I'm here, right? I'm drawing and I'm studying, and it could be an original drawing or it could be a study. It doesn't matter too much. And I'm studying this thing, and at this point you might think, oh, you might ask the question, am I okay to start worrying about brushwork and maybe even style? Well, it's a good question to ask yourself. So I can see there's a few glaring proportional mistakes. So this line here, it's okay, but it's too long. This distance is too long. And this line here is supposed to be steeper, so correction will be here. And then, oops. Obviously the eyes are too far apart, so there's the correction, and then the neck is fine. The legs are back here more for balance. So the point is, I'm fixing these bigger shapes, and if I'm not happy with how the shapes are, the major shapes, and how accurate I can put them down, it's almost pointless for me to worry about the brushwork or line quality or whatever, because the overall image doesn't look that good. But how close you need it to be, that's up to you. That's an individual decision. So maybe this would be close enough for me. Maybe this isn't close enough for you. So it's about, if I were to redline, well, blue line my red lines, it would be around here. I think I got the major lines. Okay, so this has more, the blue one has more qualities that is similar to my original versus the red one. The red one's, you know, off. You know, this distance is off, some of the angles are off, the leg placements are off. But at this point I could say, oh, if I'm here, I shouldn't worry about brushworks, and if I'm here, I should worry about brushwork. So yes, brushwork, no, don't worry about brushwork. But how far you need to go is dependent on the individual. So and it's not, there's no hard requirement. It's not like if you don't get it 100% accurate, that means you're setting the bar too low. It's more like, is the accuracy necessary for the style that you want? So I am not really goal oriented for the most part, but I can set goals for myself. What books do you recommend? Ooh, beginners. How beginner are we talking about? Because the very beginning, I don't recommend books at all. Just draw for fun. I think drawing for fun should be the first step. You know, unless your circumstances is very special. So let's see. I can copy from reference really well, but I can't create. Okay, so creating stuff that spawns from reference or no reference at all requires you to understand construction and like some fundamentals like shape, construction, maybe a little bit of design and perspective. If you can't do those things, then it doesn't matter how well you can copy the two-dimensional image. So I can get to this point, right? But the next step is, you know, how do I break this down? So that's I'll have to break this down into the forms themselves. So this horn right here, the contours, the circular contours on the horn, because it's a combination of cylinders, is to show which direction the horn is going. Or the first derivative normal of the horn, technically. So let's see. Okay, so in order to create things, for the most part, at least for semi-realism, anything that has basis in realistic forms, it's a different thing if you're doing like cubism and stuff. But let's say I get to this part and I can see the three-dimensional shapes in my head, or I can draw it out. Then I can say, and this is a pretty simple exercise. I could say, oh, which I did for one of my paintings. It's like, okay, Ganyu's horn needs a protective, like, sleeve, and I can draw that in based on my understanding for the form. And this is where you start deviating. This is a very simple example for deviating from references. So let's say this is a reference, but then if I were to draw this, I could say, you know, you're referencing an artist, but you want to change up some stuff. So you could add stuff or subtract things from it. But in order to do this, you kind of need construction. So a lot of artists have issue doing this because they practice copying, but they don't practice the other fundamentals. Copying is just a very copying from observation is a very basic skill that every artist should have to some degree, but you don't stop there. So now I can put stuff, you know, on the character. So if I were referencing, I could still make changes that make sense to the original painting. So if you have problem, or if you have trouble doing something like that, then it's a sign of lack of fundamentals. Yeah, Jojo Shibo has a pretty good suggestion. So I did suggest that in my Colossal course as well. So if you see a reference, it's best to try to draw that reference from a different angle sometimes. Not all the time, just sometimes. If you can't do it, then there's a gap in knowledge. So, for example, if I were to reference this Ganyu, right? Oops. Oh no. Can I draw this Ganyu in a different angle if I were to reference it? And even though it's my own drawing, there's still some difficulties in doing this. So turned into a Ganyu study. It's always a Ganyu study, by the way. think I drew my dream once a long time ago, but usually no. So yeah, I think doing this one is easier than trying to match it on the turn. So being able to switch like angles from the first reference is a pretty good skill test. And things would look awkward if you have any tiny gaps in knowledge. The more realism you try to achieve this with, the louder the uncanniness will scream at you. So I think a lot of early artists have, actually even like intermediate artists have trouble doing this, because like the smallest things, let me try to point it out, stuff like this, like how do you interpret that in a frontal view? And if you're not good at representing form, that's where you'll fall short. Like I have to think about how, you know, this part, let's do this form, and then the cloth itself goes like wraps around the top, and how the folds would happen. And here's the hand, right? And then there's a imaginary pocket here. So this isn't random shapes. It's pretty, I'll say you kind of have to carefully pick it, like how the folds happen. I don't really need to go into the details for the forms to read well. But if you don't know how to do the forms, even if you go into the details, you can tell it's off. Okay. Yeah, so I would say this is so I have this, I wrote this thing in Discord and I went over exactly that point. Let me pull it up real quick. Oh, let me not blind you guys with the brightest thing ever. There's this little thing that's my like brief for fundamentals and what they do, why you need to do it, and what order to do it in. So if you follow this, it'll get you like, I don't know, first 3 years. I'll say 3 years of fundamentals can be derived from this right here, at least 3 years. And I have this posted on my Discord. You can just go and take a look. It's in the crit log. It'll be there forever, so. You can kind of see where you are at, and this list, I sometimes go back to the very beginning and then work my way down over and over, just when I get bored. So, and each run of this takes like a year, so. I'm pretty sure this works. I'm surprised if it doesn't. If this doesn't work, someone else needs to grab the link, someone that's already in Discord. Because I can't, like, it doesn't show me the link when I try to copy it in Discord because of stream mode. And it's not letting me turn it off, so. Oh my god, are you serious? Hold on. What the heck? Okay. I'm pretty sure. Okay, try this one, but that one should have worked. Let me see. Oh, no, that one's still active. I don't know. Yeah, the PLGR one should be active. At least that's what it shows. Yeah, so let's do some Ganyu rotations. Like sometimes I like to do studies like this just for fun because they're like kind of doodles. It doesn't take too much effort, but for me, but it does test my knowledge on form, or at least consistency on form. So if I try to draw Ganyu in a different orientation, it makes me think more. Yeah. And then you can also play with like foreshortening and stuff, and there's a lot you can play with. Whoops. Stuff like this, like the horn being rotated, gets pretty tricky. And this is where the circular contours really help. Okay. This is a little bit foreshortened. It's actually hard to draw things without foreshortening, because then you're drawing isometric, and that looks pretty weird. Unfortunately, there's not much to draw in this very high angle, or like foreshortened angle, because it's blocked by the giant chibi head. Whoops, no. But I think isometric meaning there's no perspective effect, there's no vanishing point. So it's like, yeah, if you look up isometric art, you'll know what I'm talking about. Is learning anatomy intensely? No, you don't really need to learn that much anatomy to get better at portrait painting. Just because most of the muscles don't really have to show anyway. Like you can, yeah, you can not fake, but you just have to memorize what it generally looks like. Draw proper anatomy. So for beginners, I don't recommend drawing anatomy to start with because anatomy requires pre-existing like fundamentals to study effectively, and you might build bad habits if you jump into anatomy before having a really good like solid foundation on other things. This is Clip Studio. Drawing horns is just a matter of breaking down into the like the primitive shapes, like primitive forms. So if I'm drawing Ganyu's horn, right, I'm breaking it down to cylinders. So this right here, so this shape, you might not know how I came up with this shape, but if I were to try to break it down, so the first section I think of is this. And then there's like the apex of the horn. Let's do, and then it curves down. And then it curves up again. There's another apex down there. So from the side, it looks like let's put it closer. And then I just maybe around here. Oh, that's a hard one. This is actually going to be more squished, but let's do the intersection. That's the thing I'm talking about here. Like being able to do something like this helps you with figuring out this angle. Then I can see how the hair should intersect, or how the horn should intersect with the skull. And let's just draw with black. We don't really need to color code things. This needs to be a bit more squished. Like this, okay. I don't like so many colors. So let's lock this. Oops. I think Ganyu has pointy ears, but I can never find definitive answers. I think the model has normal ears, but because she's part Kilin, it should be pointy, at least slightly. That's my headcanon. Yeah, this is how I think about horns. Let me think. Or let me read real quick. This will be... I won't private this stream. Don't start with anatomy if you're new to drawing. Sometimes Reddit is wrong, so... But at the same time, I try not to give unsolicited advice. People can do whatever they want, but if they want like a fast method without going on too much tangent or making the same mistakes I did for the first 10 years, then yeah, sure, I will give them advice, but otherwise, you know, it's up to them how they want to approach it. Oh, my bad. I forgot. The start soon is not... It's still there. Yeah, we started a long time ago, so... Understand shape, form, perspective. Yeah, if you understand it to a point where you're satisfied with how you're reading the references, then yeah, by all means, go into more specific fundamentals. I actually have no control over the Colossal pricing, unfortunately. Like, the Colossal pricing is based on Colossal and their team. I would love to take an engineering drafting class, but I don't think I'll be going back to school. I do not use any cool brushes. I use actually, correction, I use the coolest brushes. Let me show you my brushes. People always be asking for brushes. That's my brush. So, oh, how much do I earn per masterclass? I can't disclose that because there's NDA on that, but I can say not that much. For good reasons. They do the editing and marketing. I don't spend $1 on marketing, so they take, let's just say, they take a good chunk. But I also don't have time to edit and everything, so. Yeah, so in my class, I actually suggest that if you need to dive into more details in any particular portion of fundamentals, there's a bunch of resource online. The issue with that is if you don't have a guide to where to start, you wouldn't know what to look for. So like the Reddit thing, like you go on Reddit, what should I start with? Like you just type in like, how should I start drawing? I'm a beginner. Some people might recommend like anatomy or perspective, and you just find yourself completely screwed over, because those are not the first fundamentals I would tackle. They're not. It's not effective to do that first. I intend the course to be used like this. You could take notes on the course, and you could take notes on like specific aspects that I said on the course. But yes, it is very wide ranged, and it is from beginning to finish on portraits, how I do portraits up to this point, or at least up to last year. It will go over all the major points you need to study over time. You can't study those things within a few weeks. It's not possible. It will at least take you like 2 years, right? But it serves as a guide for you to look online. So let's say you're at a point where you're really good on anatomy. Let's say you know all the muscles, you know what they look like, but when you draw stuff, it doesn't look like. You can go back to my course, and you probably could find out which fundamentals you need to study, how you need to study it, and what to look for. So, and I also go over like how should you think about a study, like when you're referencing things, like how you should think about how to study these things and like what to focus on. So if you don't have those guides, like you're gonna get lost because there's so much tutorials online. You go on YouTube, you type in something super vague like, oh, how do I paint better, how do I improve my painting, and you'll get like a billion results. So if you try to do that, you'll be stuck in tutorial hell for, like me, for decades. I wasn't really in tutorial hell, I just didn't know what I was doing, but same thing. You'll be stuck like right here, maybe here. Yeah. So the class is kind of a self-diagnosis to what you should be looking for, and what you might be doing wrong. So I see a lot of people say anatomy is a fundamental, and they start drawing characters, and they just immediately think, okay, I need fundamentals, which are anatomy. And a lot of people would say perspective, like, oh, I just want dynamic angles, whatever that means. I don't know what dynamic angles mean, but that term gets thrown around a lot. And then obviously if you think about angles and dynamic construction or whatever, you'll immediately think I should study perspectives, and they try to just go ham for the next year on perspectives and anatomy and figure out that they have zero improvement. I don't know if like my feed, my exposure to social media post COVID is any indication to how people draw these days, but a lot of people try to, speed run the fundamentals. It's like, oh, I'm gonna grind fundamentals for the next 2 months, every single day, 8 hours a day, and I'm gonna be like the greatest artist ever. It's generally not how that works. Yeah, I'll say, like if the colossal price is too high, don't worry about it. Just draw for fun first, and even if you come back a year, 2 years, 3 years later, that class would still probably be useful for you. I would say I'm estimating like anybody within you know, maybe 5-10 years experience, that class should provide value. What do you mean warped art feed? Let me see. I gotta read the chat. Hold on. Is there a typo in the brush? Well, whether or not there's typo, it doesn't really matter, because I typed this thing really fast, like 2 seconds, and I just decided to use it as a brush. But so yeah, I basically made this brush in like a couple minutes, and I've been using this thing for what, like 3 years, because it doesn't really matter that much. I could use a round brush for the last 3 years. I would be basically in the same place as I am now. Okay, studying colors. That's a hard one. And I don't know if this is correct answer, but studying values comes before studying colors. Once you understand values, you can translate some of that information to colors. The logic behind colors, the only difference is contrast can also be explained through a difference of hue and saturation. So you have more tools to work with. If you don't know what I'm saying, it would take a long time to explain that. So basically a difference between saturation. Actually, let me try to explain. A difference in saturation. So I have this, right? Oh my god, it's so red. Okay, I have this. And then I can just lower saturation. The value is the same, but these three things, because their saturation is different, I can create a contrast between the colors. So this is a difference, direct difference between if we're just working with values, black and white. So this versus this, right? It kind of reads very similarly, like stuff. Like these two things read similarly, the contrast level, even though this has no value difference. This has no value difference. This has value difference. So if we were to take out saturation, if I did it right, so let's go hue saturation, and we take it out. This blends in pretty well, except that one. I think I color picked wrong, but see this one, now it looks very different. But if we bring back saturation, because there's more tools to work with, your how to put it, you can logically think through it if you know how to work with values. So if you can work with values, you can learn to work with colors eventually. So that's why I say values before colors, because values, you have one dimension. Color, you have saturation, you have hue, and you have values. So for colors, you can go saturated, desaturated, you can go dark, and you can go light, and then you can go around the wheel, which is the hue or the degree. That's three things to work with versus just black and white, which is just one thing. It's either really bright or it's really dark. So try to learn to work with one before you try to work with three. So I don't use stabilizer when I paint. I don't like it because it takes away a lot of the nuances in my brush strokes, and I don't like that. I use a little bit, like maybe 1 out of 100, because it gets rid of the pixel jitter, like because there's still pixels on a tablet. So it snaps to the pixel basically. But if you have stabilization on just like as little as possible, it takes away the pixel jitter. Yeah. No question. Oh, thanks, bear. Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of people would look at my stuff and want to paint themselves. It's always nice. Okay, so PewDiePie's thing is kind of interesting. He has pretty good basis on observation, like he's looking at something and then drawing it. But if you tell him to draw something from scratch, he would have a harder time to do it, because learning construction and creating stuff out of construction without reference or not directly reference takes a much longer time than copying a two-dimensional image. Not saying that he's not skilled. He definitely put his time in, but I think a lot of people look at the drawings that he made and maybe compared it to their own drawings and think that, oh, you know, it took me years to get here, and it only took him like what, 1 year or the 30-day progress or something. But people have to realize that the art, as you get more and more, as you acquire more and more skill, as you get like fine-tune your skills, you get a lot of diminishing returns. So for me to for someone to improve like 10% in drawing when they first started, whatever 10% means, it might take them like 2 days. Like if you just started drawing last week and you want to improve 10%, it will take you like, you know, a couple hours. For me to improve 10%, I probably have to drop like, you know, like 1,000 hours, because there's like, first of all, you don't see what you don't see, and there's no guides. Like the more you draw, like the more specific you are into your style and the more fine-tuned your skill set is, the less guides there are online, because the less you're kind of it's a path that's less tread, I guess. It's a good way to put it. So like, if I ask the questions like, how do you manage values or how do you manage shapes, there's a ton of guides, right? If I ask a very specific questions like, how do you do composition with 2 focal points, and like do like how do you manage edge with like specific textures? How do you not over texture but not under texture some of the focal points? There's not really that many people that's going to answer that question, because there's not a big audience. There's like a few people that care about the answer. So for people who are drawing longer, it's going to take longer time. So if you look at PewDiePie and he's drawing, like a lot of people's been there, so he has a clear path of improving. He'll get to a decent proficiency very fast, but he's gonna like, it has to slow down eventually. Let's see, let me read. Yeah, value is pretty good. Black and white, you can do a lot of things, not just black and white, but like the shapes, the shape language, the textures. I try not to overemphasize on textures, because that's kind of, it's like a later thing, but you can do a lot with just one like monochrome. Tint and shade. Tint is just hue. I don't actually know if there's a technical difference between tint and hue. I think tint is like a influence of a specific, like of one color on multiple surfaces, on multiple different colors and values, and that is a single hue. So yeah, if you have red hue, so let me try to see if I can. So let's do lighten, and then we'll do, oops. So you can see that there's a lot of colors here. Or not a lot, but there's black, white, gray, there's blue. But if I were to do this, that's a red tint over things. I mean, let me see if I can. Soft light, I think this is more accurate. So that's like a red tint over, you know, the blue. So now the blue is more purple because it has red tint over it. And then, you know, like the red is more red. The gray is now red. The black is well, it's 100%. There's 0% black, so you can't see it. But that's a tint. Shade is people use that term weird. Shade as in shadow or shade as in like like a value difference. Yeah, could be either of those things. There's a slight difference, I think. So color. Eye-catching composition. Eye-catching. So Love Me is asking if I have tips for eye-catching composition. The answer is yes. I do have tips, but it's also kind of pointless because they're tips for me and where I'm at specifically. Like based on my current drawing, how can I make it more eye-catching? But based on someone else's current drawing, it's gonna be different. You have simple things like rule of thirds and contrast management, like framing, stuff like that. But those are not hard rules. There's not really, there's not that many rules in composition for art. There's like you can logically determine things like if I want one focus, like if I want to draw like eye-catching, right? I draw a bunch of black apples. So I'll have, ooh, no, don't do that. Change the, okay, so black apples. So I have a bunch of black apples. So if these are some wacky looking apples. If I have a bunch of black apples and my focal point is a red apple. There, that's easy to generate contrast and composition. But then I can also say, you know, I want to lead my viewers to this point, so I might use shapes to funnel them into looking at this red apple instead of just the black ones. But you know, like shapes, and this I can add it to framing. So if I were to do this, I mean, it might still work. If I framed it like this, you can still go to the red apple, but depending on how I frame it, some things, some ways of framing it might be better than others. Like I would say something like this would be better. I don't know why it's better, but just from experience, it looks better to me. So that draws your attention to the red apple. And it's like you can explain things with, like, you can try to over explain things. Like the simplest way is like, okay, here's a triangle, right? You're like, oh, here's a triangle, and obviously here's the focal point because it's one of the angles of the triangle. But you can get too far. You can get too caught up with like trying to explain things that isn't even an intention. And sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. You could be like, oh, it looks like an arrow, so obviously they would go there. Or it looks like an asymptotic curve, like this, so obviously they would move there. Or you can explain it like, you can try to get into more abstract things, like if you try to put like golden ratios in there, or Fibonacci sequence, or you know, like try to explain it with intersections of big shapes versus the empty space. Like you can come up with more and more refined methods of composing, and some of it is just pure bullshit. but like you're extrapolating too much. So there's not really a set of rules you can follow. So what would help me is different from what would help you, and that's something either you or a mentor would have to look at. And the mentor is not always right. So it's kind of a very personal, it's a personal approach. I can't, yeah, I can't point you to like the 10 commandments of composition. There's no such thing. If there is, if someone says there are, they're probably not right. Okay, let's see. Is it still worth getting into art? Oh, thanks, Vinny. Is it still worth getting into art to make it? I don't know. I don't know, because I most of my art stuff is from hobby. I don't work in the industry. I mean, yeah, sure, I do have the colossal thing, but that's more of a side hustle. And not even a hustle, it's just something I made because they asked me if I wanted to try it. So color studies, no, studying the reference, picking colors that is as close to the reference as possible shouldn't be your main focus. The relative color accuracy is your main focus. So if I have someone with, oh, not someone, like let's say you have a green building and you have blue sky in the background. It's more important to see how green the building is relative to the sky so you get the correct separation than to get the exact same green and the exact same blue. But it's also like helpful if you can pick exact colors, but it shouldn't be a focus of your practice. Favorite color to play around? I have no idea. Black? The presence of all colors. Because I like value studies. Someone already linked the Discord, or I already linked the Discord in the, yeah, somebody as in me. Did you study tradition? I am self-taught, but I don't know what traditionally means. Like, did I go to school for it? No. I took a college class, the Drawing 101 class to graduate, but that's not really an art class to me, I think. Oh, I don't think I watched the second part. Horik, I don't think I watched the second part of PewDiePie's drawing video, but I can see that happening. Shape language. I didn't follow any books, so I can't really recommend any books. I did look at Bark, and I think Bark has pretty good observation skill breakdowns. Perspective. There's not that many rules in perspective. Yeah, I never thought about how to teach perspective from beginning to finish because it after graphing it came somewhat natural to me. Just because graphing took a lot of time to learn. I think most yeah, I don't know if I can give random recommendations, but I'm guessing a lot of the bigger YouTuber channels have perspective um, videos that probably has really good information. So I would probably start with those. Yeah, I have a cat in the background. He meows sometimes. Which drawing program? Any drawing program that you're comfortable navigating in. Let's see. Hold on. I gotta keep reading. Hold on. So now, yeah, I mean, some people learn fundamentals out of order, in my opinion, but that's not a too big of an issue. Now, if you learn fundamental out of order and you never picked up the stuff that's really important, like form, you might, like if you do it for 10 years, you might build up some really bad habits that would take a long time to correct. But yeah, aside from that, not not a whole lot of downsides. Yeah, graphite's good. I've drawn with charcoal and graphite a few times. I don't like the work of breaking out all the tools and putting it back when I can just bring out my tablet. How do you account? Okay, so half my pieces are studies, so they're referenced from photos. The other half, ooh, the other half. I have. Hold on, let me pull up that. Where is it? Okay, so that's how I come up with some of my paintings. Let's see. So my name, like Pluvium. So this is. Oh my god, I can't write in Chinese. So okay, so let's see. Pluvium is from pluvia, which equals rain. So it's just a lot of rain because I like rain. Where did I read? What is my job? So Adam Bacon. I am an accountant. Shoot. 会说中文。但是我英文比中文好。I Like I can't really write much in Chinese. I try to practice calligraphy because it's kind of like drawing, but accounting, yeah, we just count other people's money. Well, our job is to tell them how rich they are. So how would I start drawing? Okay, so wait, hold on. I lost where I read. Show me the account. What's the kitty's name? That's classified. Start using. Ooh, 3D models. So if the 3D rendering, lighting, if it's lit correctly, you can study from it. But if the rendering settings are not correct, they're not good enough, not realistic enough, and you study from it, then your values and your forms can be a little bit off. Mainly it comes down to how accurate the bounce light is. So if you're using ray tracing, you're doing like 4 or 5 bounces, you're probably okay. Transition value to color study. I don't know. I just did it. So I started with values. I knew I was gonna do color later. And after like a year and a half or 2 years of just strictly values, I just decided to study colors and fix stuff over time. Ooh, picking colors. Yeah, there's a skill involved in picking colors. There's some, not tricks, but way of thinking that helps you pick colors more accurately based on your references. So you can guess the color of the light in a reference, but if you also know the material and the base color, you can guess how to pick colors. And to explain that, I will have to do an example, like a study. No, I'm a corporate accountant. I work in I don't want to give too much information, but I work in corporate, work in a team of accountants, and we do accounting things, month end close and whatnot. What resolution? I don't know why the Discord link is not working, man. But if you look in the chat, there's Discord link that's somewhere, littered somewhere in the chat. Yeah, Pluvium Junior, we'll go with that. Resolution, yes, 8K. My base is usually 8K. I expand that if I need more resolution. If I'm working on something that needs to be printed, sometimes I go up to like 12, 15K. And then I downscale if I'm exporting. In Clip Studio, however, I'd like to work under 8K because Clip Studio brushes lag more, but they also have sharpness that's above what Photoshop offers. Photoshop brushes do not go sub-pixel. So Clip Studio has better sub-pixel management. Like it's the sharpness, the brush engine. It's a minor difference, but 8K on Clip Studio looks as sharp as 12K on Photoshop to me. So the full name is Pluvium Grandis. I was thinking of whether or not to pronounce the S, but yeah, I pronounced the S. People just call me Pluvium anyway. Like, I just name it Pluvium, like workshop. Initially, I wanted Pluvium the name, but somebody took it. I'm still mad, super mad. And there's a wine company, I think, called Pluvium, but that's besides the point. I think they also don't have the name. Is there any tip to how to be happy with how to be happy with your work? Oh man, that's a tough one. So I started out 3-4 years ago. That again, and I said to myself I wanted to be my favorite artist, or at least try to get to it. So meaning I would like my drawing better than other people's drawing. Turns out that's really hard to do because I don't know. It's just there are people out there that's grinding and they've practiced and they literally breathe art all day. And I guess I'm happy with my work because I'm at a point technically that I'm satisfied with. Like I would say I have pretty good fundamentals. And that was one of my concerns earlier on. It's like my drawings didn't look right because my fundamentals was weak, but I'm at a point where my fundamentals is satisfactory. Let's put it that way. I'm satisfactory with fundamentals. Still room for improvement, but something to work on. Procreate. Procreate's great. There's a lot of people who hate Procreate, and I don't know why. I'm not even sponsored by iPad or Apple. I wish I was, but I'm not. So to show some drawings that illustrate my point. So this is Procreate. It's made on Procreate. And I don't think there's any performance difference or like any downsides to using Procreate. To me, as a pretty traditionalist painter, traditionalist digital painter, if that makes sense. And there's no downside to it. Like it doesn't slow me down. It doesn't lag. The tools are pretty simple, but that's all I need. So do you always follow the same step? No, I do not always. I don't follow any steps for rendering actually. Well, there's some things I do commonly, like blocking. But it's not like, oh, I'll render the eye first and then the hair or the lines or the edges or the lights and then the shadows. It's random every time. So yeah, I'm not a secret elite force member. Actually, if I was, I would say I'm not a secret elite force member as well. So good point. I have seen Look Back. It's great. I like Look Back. So one of my favorite movies. Like I can. Yeah, it just has very interesting insights on how, like, an artist perspective on things. I have tried Infinite Painter. I don't like it as much as Procreate because Infinite Painter exports are slightly blurry. I use it on so I have two tablets. I have the Samsung and then I have the iPad. The iPad I need for work, future work, next week work. But I do like drawing on the iPad more, as spoiled as that sounds. So Potato, I have videos on, like, basically what I want to say. I put it in video form, but I have videos on the process improvement over the years. Let me link that. Okay, so potato. Krita is a funny one. It lags too much for me to like using, but I can draw on it on a lower resolution. If I wanted to work on a bigger resolution work, like something I need to do for freelancing or something, I will not use Krita with my current computer because bigger brush lags too much on there. And I don't think it's necessary for people to paint with 8,000 pixel canvas, but that's just, I'd say, a deal breaker. It's just something I don't like. So I have never had a tablet pen make my hand cramp up. So I don't know. I have a thinner pen for my tablet, for my Huion as well. And yeah, I don't grip it that much. So I don't know. What brushes you use? Oh man. Okay, let me just scroll up on this. 1 second. That's the brush right there. Okay. My computer is good enough. My graphic card is really good. My CPU is kind of like low end. It's a 1600F. It's a pretty, yeah, it's like an entry level CPU, and it's a couple years old. So yeah, I do some freelance work, like for some companies contract me for, it's mostly for promotional stuff. Like they want me to post on social media. As I have mixed feelings about that. That means my work is not really used in-house. It's just I have the following, so they want the numbers. It's like not a good measure of skill, I guess. A method of studying for you. Blind. I don't know what blind study means. I'm not sure what iterative drawing means. I study photos. I try to pick one thing to study at once. So if I'm studying values, I would spend a year on it. If I'm studying colors, I would probably spend a year focusing on colors. So that, you know, you get something done. If you try to focus on, like, I see a lot of people say, like, I'll ask, or they would say they're practicing fundamentals because they're starting out or they're just trying to get better. And then when you ask them what fundamentals they're studying, they would say, "Oh yeah, I'm studying composition, perspective, anatomy, color, construction methods, Loomis, a sorrel head." And I just keep listing stuff. I'm like, no, you can't study like 13 things at once. You're not gonna get anything done. So it's like, I try to study like 2 things at once, maybe 2-3 things. Bottom left. What bottom left for what? Where? What? There's nothing bottom left. This is pretty much almost the whole sheet. Okay. If you haven't resolution doesn't matter that much as long as you don't lag from it. So I would say the biggest resolution you don't lag from. So unless you're a pixel artist, then yeah. But I would say anything above 2000 pixels width or on the shorter side is, you're gonna be good for a while. But because screens are getting more and more high resolution, sometimes if you post online or you open it on the screen that's higher resolution, it might look a little bit blurry compared to what you already have on the screen. I use for PC I use Clip Studio, Photoshop, and some other weird ones sometimes. And for iPad I use Procreate. For Samsung tablet I use Infinite Painter because there's no Procreate. The painting method is blocking, so it's shape studies. And this one illustrates that method pretty well. It's like I'm looking at how to block things, how to separate things into bigger shapes, and then I drop the colors in. You can actually kind of see it in here too. I have black blocks and then I have white blocks, which is just anything that's not filled. And this is how you do painting for the most part. Okay, let me just type the tablet thing. I use the softwares interchangeably almost. It's not like it doesn't really matter what I use as long as it's comfortable. And obviously I'm most comfortable with Clip Studio and Photoshop. That's why I stick to it. But Procreate is pretty close to both of them, to me. Potato depends on what you mean by casually. You will improve if you tackle things that you're not that good at and then you try to get better at it. But if you just draw the same things that you're good at and you never step out of the very comfortable zone at all, not even a tiny bit, it doesn't matter how much you draw, you're not going to improve. You'll get faster drawing what you already you're already really good at. So So I would be careful studying speed paints from other people, including mine. And it's one of the reasons I don't post speed paints much. Like, they're fun to look at, but they require existing knowledge for something. So like perspective, I can get the perspective in pretty quick without any guidelines. But all you see is the final result I put on paper. Even though I'm painting, I'm skipping steps in my head and I don't explain them. So if you try to replicate that, you will learn how to make those shapes. Yeah, sure, but I can make those shapes in any angle. But if you were to just copy my speed paint or you just study it, you can make that shape in that angle. But that's it. You can't gain the same amount of knowledge just watching one speed paint. It's kind of like it's like trying to learn the violin by listening to someone play the violin, and it's just listening to the same song over and over. I think that's a good comparison. You're like looking at limited things, but they're not going to explain to you how they do what they do. So I've never used Ibis Paint. I've never tried Photoshop on iPad either. So no. I'm sure it's fine, but I wanted a simpler. Like Procreate looks pretty simple and the UI is clean, so I use that. Do I watch other Fujimoto's work? I haven't. Yeah, how to block is derived from how to simplify shapes. So if you can simplify shapes, you can study a lot of things. There's another layer of difficulty for traditional. It's not really, it doesn't make the overall drawing more difficult by much, but there's an initial difficulty with like how paint or wet paint behaves on canvas or on brush, and yeah, that's just something you have to learn. The Ganyu arc is never over. You must be crazy. It's never over. Even if they terminate the game. Let's see. Balance. How do I balance daily life? I don't. I don't have a life. I just, because I like drawing. I mean, it depends on what you mean by life. Like hanging out with friends, I don't have to worry about that because I don't do that. And I do go to the gym and groceries and stuff. Eat food. I eat food. I sleep. You can balance those, kind of. But the rest of the time I'm drawing. How did you develop your art style? I just kept drawing. And okay, so I kept drawing and I found the stuff that I like in paintings and I exaggerated them or kept them. And then I removed the stuff that I don't like, and then you get style. That's the short, simple answer. It's a very accurate answer, actually. Domagoj. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name. Astheimer? Ostheimer? I don't have a Ganyu build because I never rolled for Ganyu. And I only played Genshin for 1 week and then I quit because I could spend that time drawing Ganyu instead of playing other characters on Genshin Impact. Obviously, I would rather draw Ganyu instead. Okay. Why do I like Ganyu? So the horns are perfect on Ganyu. The colors, the blue hair, perfect. Like the length and the shape of the horn. You can't really... Where do you even go from that? And then Ganyu's personality is nice. I like the voice. What else? The outfit's nice. I like the black one as well. And then the hairstyle is good. Really good. And then the name. Like, come on. I like Rain a lot. And what else? Yeah, I mean, what other reasons do I need? Let's see, where was I? Damien. I'm Pluvium. I don't know. Well, how am I supposed to answer that? Okay. I won't keep the stream up too much longer, but I will probably draw in VC later. Actually, I will definitely draw in VC later because I have to critique one of the mentorship people, mentees. Is that even a real word? How does one do art studies? That's a very long answer because there's artists at different stages of their career needs to do art studies a little bit differently, and it also depends on what you already know. So focus on what you don't know and study those things, or focus on what your weakest link is that you want to be good at. Have you ever seen? Oh yeah, okay. Accounting job is pretty boring. I don't like it much, but I'm decent at it. We spend time with family. Not much. Let's put it that way. I like, I don't want to be like that. Those people that says I don't like small talks, but I really don't. I rather do things than talk about shows and stuff. I will watch the show. I'll talk about it, sure, but like, I'm not gonna drag the conversation on too much. Stuff like that. And no one in my family really cares that much about art. Oh man. How to YouTube GIF earning? I don't know. I've not made a single cent from YouTube. I started like a couple months ago. I haven't considered monetizing anything at all, so can't really answer you. AC, B high or buy. Green S. Draw more valuable than play game. Yes. That's a then with an A, not an E, because I'm not going to play games after drawing. See, that's not accurate. Been playing, I kind of want to play more Marvel Rivals, unfortunately. It's going to be cancer for me. Please, okay. Oh man. You really spammed that. No, 3 times. I don't know how to make money on YouTube yet. I will try, maybe. Who's my favorite Toho character? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good question. I almost want to say Sakuya, but Reimu is a pretty good pick. Probably Sakuya. The only composition I did. Man, I can't really talk about composition without having an example of studies, so hard to say. I wouldn't be able to answer that right now. Let's give you ownership. Okay. Yeah, I'm letting Hoyoverse borrow Ganyu right now, but eventually I'm gonna need that back. Oh, thanks, Damien Sosa. Yeah, but oh yeah, been so interested in trying. Yeah, I've always been pretty interested in drawing. Obviously, my depth of the interest is gonna be different as I learn more. I'm more interested in more obscure topics of drawing. In the beginning, I was interested in drawing, just be like, oh yeah, perspective, perspective anime characters. But now it's more like shape isolation and stuff. But it's the same feeling. How much is your? I haven't priced my mentorship program yet. I don't know if I will have one because I have very limited time. I have a decent idea of how much I want to price it, but not yet unless I can formalize it. The plan, I mean. You have any good rendering? Photos. I learned how to render from photos. And then I mean, extrapolated some other artists' work. So yeah, no like one-stop shop for how to render 101. Just the combination of different sources and resources. Do you ever read philosophy? No, I don't read. I read art stuff. That's it. I focus on art stuff. I want to get better at drawing. I don't venture too far out of that unless I like the activity. So, for example, I like cycling. I like going to the gym. I like some games like Astroneer and Satisfactory. Uh, but I'm not trying to do everything, especially if I'm not already interested in it. Inspiration. Okay, so different time period, different inspirations, different artists. Levitate. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Levitate, Peter Free. He works for Legendary Studios before. Worked on Harry Potter, one of my inspirations. There's a type of couple. Whoever I follow on Instagram. Yeah, there you go. I keep the Instagram curated to who I want to learn from usually, and I rotate them out once a year, sometimes like one. I don't draw every day. I draw nearly every day, but not every day, unfortunately. Hello, Rue. I feel like you're a sick YouTuber. What do you mean sick YouTuber? I don't know. I like putting content I care about out, but I don't like if I have thoughts that needs long form content, I'll put it out. But then my main focus is still painting. I stream because a lot of people ask me to stream, so here I am. I was on Twitch a while back, but Twitch doesn't allow me to upload videos, so screw that. Wait a second. Sakuya paint. I have a Sakuya painting from more than 10 years ago. I remember. I painted her once in 2,000, 3,000 drawings, paintings. Okay, I'll shut the stream down in like 3 minutes. So if anybody has any more questions that is pressing, either ask now or ask on the Discord. You can ping me. I don't care. Like I don't care about pings, or I don't mind pings. Let's see. How long does it take a full piece typically? Typically 2 to 5 hours. Depends on the piece, but generally, like 99% of my pieces are under 5 hours. Well, 95. 1 out of 20 might go above 5 hours. Okay. Shape isolation. Isolating shapes. Making sure that shape is more important than other shapes. Sakuya painting, I don't know. Tablet using Canvas 24 Pro 4K. Big painting user. Oh, yeah, hopefully. I mean, it would be nice if people like my videos and streams and whatnot. I'm not a marketing guy, so I don't know how to promote stuff, and I really don't want to cover controversial topics like, you guys know what they are. Like a lot of people cover AI stuff, or like get really emotional about AI or political things. I just want to draw, so I don't think that's gonna gain too much traction, which I don't. It's fine. The meaning of life if you don't draw. Well, I mean, okay. So my drawings, I don't draw Ganyu every day. I draw Ganyu maybe like once a week, or maybe sometimes less. But every painting is either Ganyu, or it is practice to draw the next Ganyu better. So the Discord is free. You can join whenever. There's no membership. Animation takes too long. I can't really put time into it. I tried it like once or twice. Architect. I don't know. I don't know if you can be called a professional artist if you're an architect, because I don't really know what an architect does exactly. Do I want to become a popular artist one day on social media? I mean, I feel like, to me, I have a pretty big social media following. It's not the biggest, but I never thought it would get this big, so I already am. Do I want to get bigger following? It's whatever. Yeah, I mean, you can find my Discord link on the link tree. Yeah, yeah. Don't stress the getting the colossal course. It's not like a deal breaker if you don't get it. It's not like you will not learn. So, and there's a lot of content out there you can learn from. Yeah, I like Ganyu. What can I say? Oh, am I the biggest Ganyu fan? I don't know. You guys tell me. Because I enjoy Ganyu in a vacuum. I don't compare myself to other Ganyu fans. Not often anyway. But I just draw Ganyu as much as I want. Whether or not I'm the biggest Ganyu fan, I don't know. It's hard to quantify. Sometimes I push through, sometimes I start again for drawings, sometimes I get stuck and I would just delete the whole thing and just start drawing again. It's not really a big deal. Like, it would be like an hour in, 2 hours in, and just nuke it. You could post on the Discord server there's a feedback channel, and I think a lot of people try to help out with the feedback. There's no way I can get to everybody. It's just like I don't have enough time for it. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else would draw her as much as I do right now, but yeah. Draw Ganyu, I mean. A lot of times I use one brush for the whole illustration, but sometimes I use like three or four. I don't think Ganyu is ever gonna be replaced. It's a perfect design, and you can't top it. I would have other characters I like, but that's it. Like, I saw Ganyu, I was like, oh, peak design. That's it. End game. But yeah, okay. I'm gonna head out now. So if you guys have any more questions, I'll probably stream later.